Now when you open Excel, you are opening a workbook. A workbook can contain multiple worksheets. Each worksheet is going to look exactly the same. So I can see right down here in the lower left-hand corner, I have sheet 1. That's what I get by default. And we'll come back to sheets in a little bit. But let's just take a look at what we have when we open Excel. So we have the ribbon. You got used to this looking at Word. I have my tabs across the top, then I have my groups, and I have commands within my groups. You'll notice that on your Home tab, a lot of these formatting options look very similar to what we used quite a bit in Word. Now I have my row, or these are my row columns, or headings rather, my row headings, my column headings. And then these are the individual cells that I can click in. This long white bar here, you can see when my tooltip pops up, this is my formula bar. And once we start getting into functions, you're going to learn why this is called the formula bar. And this is my name box right here. And then, see if I can move this around a little bit. Down here in the lower right hand corner, I have my zoom. And then these, oh, you can't see my tooltip. I think it's outside of the screen, but I have normal view, page layout view, and page break view. So these views right here, these little icons, these icons are actually the same as what you're going to get in view. So the same right there. Okay, let's enter some data in Excel. First of all, let's talk about maneuvering within Excel. So you can see this cell right here is my active cell because I can see it looks like there's a border around it. So whatever cell that I click on, that is my active cell. I can also hit enter and that takes me to the next cell underneath. Or if I click tab, then it takes me to the right. So you always want to make sure of where your active cell is because when you start typing in information, that's where it's going to go. So I'm just going to come up here to cell A1 and let's say I'm going to type in Paradise, well, it's not a typing class, Paradise Lakes Resort. Now notice my grid lines here where my columns are, that this text is overlapping the column. And that's okay. Text can do that. We will find out a little bit later that numbers cannot overlap a column. And you will see what I'm talking about once we start entering some numbers that do. But that's okay. We're going to leave it like this for now. But I do want to show you something. When I click in cell A1, that's actually where I typed in my information. So look here in my formula bar. You can see that information in the formula bar. This happens a lot of times, so don't make this mistake, where Paradise Lakes Resort looks like, and I know Paradise is misspelled, it looks like that it's taking up column A and B. But that is not the case because look, when I click in cell B1, if I look at my formula bar, it's empty. So there is nothing there. So really what I want to do is I want to resize this column so it's wide enough to fit the text that I have in there. There's a couple of ways that I can do this. If I place my cursor between the A and the B, that line right there, I get a two-sided arrow. It's my resizing handle. I can click, hold, and drag, and now I can make that column wide enough. And I'm just going to undo that real quick. Here's a second method. Again, place the cursor right between that A and the B, two-sided arrow, double click. What that's called is auto fit. So it automatically widens the column to the largest set of characters. Okay, so I've typed in this text. What if I want to modify it? I just want to call this Lakes Resort. I could just retype, and I do see people do this. They just start typing in Lakes Resort or whatever it is, the new text that they want. Let me hit undo. But I have to retype everything. So a couple things I can do. I can come up here to the formula bar, click in the formula bar, and I can make changes from here. or I can simply double click directly into the cell and make changes from there. So it's Lakes Resort, and now I'm going to double click again to auto fit that. Okay, let's enter some numbers and do a little bit of number formatting. I'm going to enter 1, 2, 3, 4. Same numbers here, but I'm going to format these very differently. I'm just going to widen this column so you can see what I'm doing here. So the first set of numbers in C1, I'm going to select that. And on my Home tab in the number grouping, if you look at these three icons right here, I have the accounting number format, the percent style, and the comma style. So let's look at what happens when I use these three. So the first one, I'm going to select the accounting number format, and what that does is it gives me 2 decimal places, a comma, and then a $sign. I'm just going to jump down here to my decimal, and I'm going to apply the percent. So that just changes my decimal to a percent. And I'm going to come back up here to C2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to select the comma style. This gives me 2 decimal places and a comma. Okay, so we're starting to kind of see what's coming together here. But there is another number format that I want to show you that's not right here. It's under this drop down arrow right here, and it's called the currency. So I'm going to select that. Notice I get a $sign, the comma, and 2 decimal places. Probably very obvious what is different between the accounting style and the currency style. That is the placement of the $sign. So in the accounting style, Excel looks at this $sign as text, because text is always aligned to the left. In the currency style, the text, Excel thinks of the $sign as a number, and numbers are always aligned to the right. So I hope that wasn't confusing. I think I confused text and Excel and a few words in there. Okay, so you kind of get the idea of some basic number formatting here. All right, one more thing that I want to cover in this video, I don't want to start boring you too much, is one thing when you're new to Excel, and that is selecting a cell, selecting a range of cells, selecting a column, or selecting a row. So let's talk about that. If I want to select a range of cells, let's say I want to select this range here, C1 through C4. That is a range of cells. What I do is I hover my mouse over the first cell. I haven't clicked anything yet. See the big fat plus sign? Click, hold, and drag down. I've selected a range of cells. The same thing if I had a range that went from C1 over to E10. Again, I'm going to hover the mouse over the first cell that I'm going to start in. Do not go into the column heading area, but right in the cell. Click, hold, drag down and over. So here I've selected a range of cells. To select one individual cell, you are just selecting in that cell. If I want to select an entire column, then that's when you click in the column heading area. And you might do this if you have an entire, let's look at date formats really quick. I'm going to throw in today's date, and today is 10/4, and here is this horrible date format. But let's say, here I'm going to use my fill handle. This is also in Chapter 1. Throw this in real quick. My fill handle is this little black square in the lower right-hand corner. Click, hold, drag that down, and look how I filled in the dates there. I don't like this date format, so I'm going to click the drop-down arrow for my number grouping, and I'm just going to choose short date. That's pretty cool. But what if in the future I decide I want to change that date format? I could select the range, but I could also, because this entire column is just dates, I can select the entire column, and then I can go in and change the date format. Oh, I think I'll choose this long date that includes the day. Oh, and look at this. What does this mean? Anytime that you get these pound signs, it's simply an error message that tells you this column is not wide enough to display a number. How do we widen a column? Well, I can simply double click to auto fit. So here in my column heading area, double click, look at that. It widens the column. Now I can display a number because technically in Excel, a date is a number. That's how Excel looks at it. We see a date, Excel sees a number. Okay, so if I want to select that entire column, again, click in the column heading area. If I want to select an entire row, I click in the row heading area. So click to select a single cell, click, hold, and drag to select a range of cells, or click in the heading area to select an entire column, or the row heading to select an entire row.